connect the world. Thank you, Scarlett. I'm going to say let's do something really big on April 22nd together.
April 20th.
and bring David Vaughn on so that we could talk about how we're saving the oxygen of the world as well.
Yes, very important.
That's our ventilator, folks. That's our ventilator.
That's our lungs. Let's put it that way. That is definitely our lungs. And it's ironic because I feel as though the Earth it's dealing with its own coronavirus issue because the lungs are hurting.
Yeah, the lungs were suffocating. I was so worried after meeting Dr. Vaughn and learning about all of this. I'm like, oh my gosh! But now look, the Earth is resetting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very robust. You know, it's interesting how it's all correlated. You know, we're dealing with the virus that deal with the lungs, and the Earth is dealing with with contamination. Also dealing with the lungs. You know,
the Earth's lungs are dying.
Yes. So you have to start thinking. You know, correlation is not causation, but you know, as we need our lungs, the Earth needs their lungs, and we are dependent on the Earth. So,
I know.
It's almost ironic in my perspective.
We need to rebuild the immunity.
Absolutely. You know, plant more trees, help the coral reef, mitigate the amount of CO2. You know, so we can go back to a more healthier ecosystem.
Speaking of planting trees, I spoke with Roger the other day. So
yes, definitely.
So yeah, we need to connect. Yes, Sasha.
Scarlett, a very quick question to you as a scientist. I would like to have your comments whether you believe that in December and January, as a result of people are staying together, there will be a lot of newborn babies. On the other hand, there will be a lot of divorces.
Yeah, we're actually going to be entering another era of baby boomers.
Boomers.
Yes, the coronavirus boomers. Yeah. Again, dealing with overpopulation, but no, this time around, thankfully, with a lot more protection. Let's be mindful of that. And you know, if you want to deal with overpopulation, you should make sure that you have access to parenthood planning. And if those resources are provided, please reach out to somebody who may offer you those resources. And you know, we really want to help reduce the amount of population that's putting a lot of stress in our environment. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Sasha. Do you know Dr. Saggu? Dr. Saggu, you know, thank you, Sasha, for asking. Scarlett, do you know Dr. Saggu?
Yes. No, we do.
Dr. Saggu, Scarlett. Yes. So you very, very informative people in the world of medical and science. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Scarlett.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you.
Love you.
Thanks, Scarlett.
Dr. Saggu, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And I would like to welcome Dr. Saggu. He's not well, but he still took some time out and joined us on IBM TV. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Ankit.
So how are things in your part of the world today, Dr. Saggu?
Yeah, we are playing on the same pace, Kim. Everything is the same, but yes, we are hoping for things to be on the better side. That the equipment wise, we are getting some equipment, and in the near future, I think from 11th April, we are getting it from other part of the world also, from Singapore and then from China. Some equipment we are importing, and some development is going on to manufacture, produce the equipment in India, or produce some vaccines or some other medication. Till that time, let's be in lockdown situation, in isolation. Yeah.
So you brought us some good, wise information. Thank you.
So there is one question to you, Kim. I have heard about some tigers. They are found positive for the COVID-19, in New York City and at the University of Illinois. The researchers, they researched on the culture of that, and they found the virus is 99.6% is the same as it's a human virus. So it may be some it would increase the worry that now, because the zoonotic virus came from the animals and now going back to the animals. Some other part of the world, I think some 2 or 3 dogs were found positive in Hong Kong. In domestic
Yeah.
cats also was found positive in China. So when the now the animals are getting same like of symptoms. I mean, the name of that tiger is Nadia. I think she's from New York, 4-year-old tiger. Her sister and brother, 3 tigers and 3 lions. They were showing the same type of symptoms like a dry cough. Their appetite is low, and thankfully they are recovering now and they are getting better as the reports we got from the New York.
So, as Scarlett was a scientist, and I always confirm with her when I hear news like that because she is connected to that world. And her efforts are also trying to save the world. You bring up a good point. It's kind of scary now that we know that it goes from animal to human and back from human to animal. I don't know where anyone would have ever come up with the idea that a virus would not retransmit back. So I think it's shocking, but I think in most cases, animals have a better immune system than us. And I will guarantee you those animals get fed better than anyone in the world. Those animals have a great diet. So
Yeah, they have a better immune system, but if their spread from the animal starts from the human beings, I don't think that that type of isolation we could have in not the pet animals. We can say the stray animal, because in India, I don't know in US, but India we found lot of animals, they are roaming around on the roads. If those they got infected, then they can spread, and it would be extensive community spread that we cannot have any check on that. So that would be a scary for us people who have lot of animals on the roads.
so
Plus,
Doctor,
yeah.
go ahead.
but
That's
I mean, we are not able to do the test for all the, citizens of India. You know that. I mean, it's not possible. But when you talk about animals, I mean, if we don't test it, how would I get to know that they have some symptoms? Because we can't check each and every pet or animal roaming around.
Yeah, so the same kit is not for the animals. Animals are
Yeah.
being tested by the veterinary labs, and the veterinary lab in Illinois, they tested for one tiger, because taking a sample is a big problem in the animals, because
Yeah.
for taking the throat swab or nasal swab or the tracheal washing which has been taken from Nadia, so that can only be possible under general anesthesia. So we have to give the anesthesia to the animal, and after anesthesia we can take the sample. So it won't be possible us to take the sample from all the animals, and how we are going to isolate all those animals. I cannot see anything. It's a darkness for me.
So it's because you are a country where animals are more open in the public, and everything. Maybe this might be something that your government take into consideration, and corralling them until you contain this situation, and we build an immunity system, because that's what we're going to have to do, is build an immunity system that can fight back the virus. This is something that you've actually been sharing with us, and we've heard from other doctors and scientists that we need to establish an immune system that can fight it. I think as creatures and nature and animals and of the earth, we will eventually establish an immune system to it. I think today we won't, but history and science has always taught us that we will or should overcome this if to survive. I think, unfortunately, the cockroach is the only thing that's immune to everything. But but I understand the concern, and it was very concerning to me when I first learned about the tiger. Um, And then it did contaminate, it spread throughout the zoo. My concern also is this, could they have been catching it from the food they're eating? We also learned that there were labs that were testing the virus at a mutated level on chickens, right? And their purpose
Yeah,
was
that is why the structure is the 99.6% is the same as to human virus. So this is not a, again, this is a second mutation, but this is the
right,
same virus which is infecting the human being. So
right.
they must have infected from the workers working over there, or who were feeding them, or who were roaming around them. Maybe, yeah.
And my thing is why haven't we considered this as a possibility before we started sending workers? And well, why haven't we practiced social distancing with the animals? But now we know that it is contagious in the feline part of the mammal area. What about other felines? And people are at home sick with COVID, and their cats are there. Again, that is a great concern because we have a high amount of cats here. Feline is one of the favorite pets in this world, and I don't want to say let's go out and kill all the cats. But how do we contain this at this moment? Because animals will spread it to children, right? We know this. Children are attracted to the animals. We know that it's 98, 99% of the same virus. We're going to have to start some practices. Scarlett shared with us, wash your pet feet more as you bring them back into the house. But it's not just their feet, it's their fur, it's their, everything about them that can become contagious. Animals are friendly to other animals. So the contagious rate and spreading rate is very concerning. And I don't think, people think, oh, a tiger got it, but their minds aren't thinking their cat can catch it. Birds, but birds can be a big spread of a virus. And this has concerned me because they were testing this virus on chickens for quite some time in order to build, I guess, so they said, a vaccine for livestock. But which I'm like, why aren't we testing for a vaccine for humans? But I don't know, Dr. Saggu. This is concerning. Can you share? Maybe you might have some advice on this.
No, just regarding, if you want to ask about the pets, yes, we should practice the good pet hygiene and all, and the rest, because we don't have enough data to comment upon. So I don't think we have other guidelines for that. So maybe the WHO has to give some guidelines. The WHO has to decide something about this for the birds and for the animals.
I mean, and then I think that's something that we just need to start getting into more practice. We were talking about even having a global week once a year of remembering this time, shutting down for a whole week to clean the air, to cleanse our carbon footprint. Even once a week, we've learned that 1 week we collected data that it's helped so much. So I'm hoping that moving forward, we will set in some policies. But I think my concern now is that if tigers could catch it, can pigs catch it? Can cows catch it? And if so, does that become contagious in our food? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something because we are meat eaters in this country, very big meat eaters. I don't know about Willie and Sasha, but I mean, our daily dose of meat is very high. Is this, I mean, if it's caught in an animal, it doesn't just go into their lungs, it goes into their bloodstream, their digestive systems, just like us. I'm sure that what do we do? I mean, how do we control this?
But for this virus, it is sure that this is not going to infect us through the digestive system. So the cells which this virus need to as a host cell to replicate or to proliferate the viruses, that is only the epithelial cells of your respiratory tract. So that is why the contaminated food is not going to infect you, which is the current guidelines. So only when this virus is going towards your respiratory tract, then only it is going to infect your epithelial cells. So I don't know whether infected food, if you eat and through the digestive system, you will get the virus. There is no enough data, there is no enough study on that, and the science has not directed us towards that.
I think that we need to start taking concern into this, that if animals are contagious, that maybe perhaps we need to test our livestock, and test some of the animals on the that roam free. I know animals roam free in Miami a lot too. They have chickens and roosters
But
roaming everywhere.
yeah,
So,
yeah, but the only good thing which make me happy, that is we can do the test and investigation on these animals because we don't require any type of the clinical trials before doing testing on the animals. We need a clinical trials before testing on the human beings. So that is why straightforward we can go for the test plus vaccine. For the vaccine also, the vaccine is ready, but we are waiting. There's a waiting period for vaccine to come into the market, is only the time consumed by the clinical trials. But those clinical trials are not required or needed for the animals. Directly, we can inject the vaccine and we can see the effect. So that may be a good news. So that on those animals, the scientists can give a trials and give a therapeutic dose to the animals. So that happened in the veterinary laboratory in Illinois. So they did a test, but they haven't given trial for these tests to any other animals. So they straightforward they did on that Nadia.
And Dr. Saggu, if people have pets at their home, so how they should quarantine or protect them from people, maybe inside the family and as well as outside? I mean, because you know that everyone is trying to isolate and there's a physical distance involved. So, what kind of precautions we need to carry while having the pets at home?
So number one, you should practice a very good pet hygiene guidelines. So the hygiene has to be maintained very nicely. Number two is you have to do a thorough hand washing. Maybe you can take shower after feeding, touching, playing with your pets. And also keep a distance from the pet if you have any type of symptoms. If you are coughing or sneezing, please keep yourself distant from your pet. So these three or four things, I think, they would help us to spread this virus from the human beings to the pets.
Okay. And do we have to, I mean, carry some kind of medications while we have pets at home at this point of time to, or sanitizers will work in that favor as well?
No, I don't think we should need a medicine. And let me tell you one thing: we are not at risk from the animals. The animals are at risk from us.
Okay.
So they,
Okay.
from the humans, the animals, they are more prone to have an infection as compared to the pets have as compared to the we are prone to get infection from the pets. So I think we should be keeping distance from the pets if we have any type of symptoms.
Okay. And sir, we are also hearing cases around the world that some disinfection cases are also coming up. So, do you have any thing to say on that?
Some disinfection regarding.
Infection. I mean, people are repeating their symptoms of COVID. It happens in US. There is a couple of stories.
That is the reinfection, the recurrence of the disease. Yes, we have
Okay.
seen. So that is why we always say the guidelines for the discharge of the patient from the hospital is at least you should have a two test negative before you will get discharged from the hospital. So once you are positive, you got your two test negative, you can be discharged from the hospital. And there are further guidelines that you should be under isolation, and if you have any type of symptoms you should immediately report to your medical services and always get investigation done, get your test done if you have symptoms again, because uh, only the immunity is the answer to the virus. If you have been to the hospital, the treatment is only your immunity. So you have fought yourself, your immune system has fought against the virus, it is not the medicine. So because if you are dehydrated in the hospital, you will be given the IV fluid. If you have a fever in the hospital, they will give you paracetamol. If you have a breathing problem, they will give you ventilatory support or something else. These are the symptomatic treatment which has been given by the hospital to the patient. But the real treatment which through which the patient has become negative is only the immune system. So because of the immunity, when the immunity goes up and you recovered from the corona, but now after coming to your home, maybe you are not following all those things, you are not taking good diet, you are not practice the activities to boost your immunity, and if your immunity also goes down again, so you can be again, you can have a COVID infection. So you have to take care. Once you have returned to your home, at least you practice good activities so that you can boost up your immunity. Plus you have to keep distance from the others. Plus if you have any type of symptoms, get your test done again.
Okay. And sir, also, I mean, viewers wants to know that when people or maybe doctors or medical practitioners or nurses, when they usually go to hospitals to treat the COVID patients on day-to-day basis, are they also undergoing the testing process every day, or they are doing it alternatively or based on the requirements? Because
No, no, it's,
they can be
yeah,
they can get contaminated or they have symptoms at any point of time. So is there
yes.
any protocol they are following?
There is not a protocol right now, but if they have a symptoms, they are being tested for the COVID-19. But there are the strict guidelines which has to be followed by each and every healthcare worker regarding PPE, how to wear the PPE, how to doff the PPE, and how to leave your hospital area, how to leave your screening area, and how to go to your isolation area after you are coming back from your hospital. So if you are following the guidelines, it's okay. If you have any type of symptoms, then only the test is being run for the page for the healthcare workers. That is scenario in India I'm talking about, because we don't have enough kits. Maybe that may be different in USA, but there is no guidelines has been issued by the WHO regarding the testing of the healthcare workers or frontliners.
Okay. And Dr. Saggu, also, I mean, because doctors are suffering from these kind of symptoms, and I mean, around the world, there is a theory that they are the front liners in terms of saving the country and saving the world. And if they got suffered, so do we have a backup of doctors, maybe retired people or people who are still studying MBBS? Are they able to cover up those spaces?
Yes, I think in US also, the nursing which has not completed their courses, they are being called and they are being given the duties of the nursing staff. But in India, yes, we have ample of staff of the nursing and of the medical staff. So we have ample of the staff. Staff is not a problem. The problem is the equipment. Problem is the ventilators. Problem is the further medications and isolation centers. So I think the government is going to solve all these problems. We are getting enough PPEs now. We are getting enough equipments now, and I'm hoping for the enough kits to be imported to India so that we can run the test. The recommendation from WHO, I would like to comment upon that. The WHO has given the guidelines that at least you should be doing 15,000 tests for 1 lakh population,
Okay.
15,000 tests for 100,000 population. And right now, we are not doing more than 100. We are under 100 for 100,000 patients. So, according to the guidelines, we are on the very lower side doing the testing for the COVID-19.
But sir, also, I mean, you know that I mean, sometimes when you do the testing for a particular person, at that time you found negative, but maybe after a couple of days, that same person found positive. So, what should be the
Yeah.
what's the timeline for the testing?
So right now the criteria is only the symptoms if you are not in the high risk area. But if you are in the high risk area, then everybody who is in contact of the COVID has to be undergo the testing. So right now we are doing only isolation. We are not testing all those people who are in contact, but it should be done initially in the mean incubation period. So your test may be negative,
Yeah,
but once you have a symptoms, your test is going to be positive because at that time you are getting the antibodies done. But the test which is based on transcriptase PCR, so that will not be negative even in the mean incubation period. So if you are doing some test that is based on the PCR, even on the day 2 or day 3, that will be positive. So that is why the PCR is more reliable.
And also, sir, there are a couple of tests going around, like the rapid test kits and then the CBCs and then the other further tests. So, what are the test timelines? I mean, how soon we'll get the reports through rapid tests and through other tests around the
Rapid
world
test,
going?
yeah, rapid test is a quick test. It's a quick test, like a pregnancy test, because it detects antibodies. It detects the
Okay.
antibodies. So it will give you results within 5 minutes. But
Okay.
the test which is running on the basis of the PCR, that
Yeah.
takes around 7 to 8 hours. But the MyLab, which has they have made a new kit, so they are saying that they will be providing tests within 2.5 hours. But at least 2 to 7 hours is the time which is the time for the test to be positive or negative if it is on the PCR based. But if it is on rapid test, it will tell you quickly. That is just a color test.
So, is rapid test is equivalent to what the MyLab and other companies are offering, or do we have different patterns on that as well?
No. Rapid test is antibodies based. It is antibodies based. It is not a PCR. So
Okay.
the rapid test is they do this test with the drop of the blood, but the PCR
Okay.
test they will take a swab from the throat. So the
Okay.
PCR or the MyLab based kits, they will detect the total number of the viruses which you have or not. So that is the viral load. Viral load can be detected only by the PCR based test, but by the quick test, you will come to know that the patient, whether he is having or not having the antibodies. So that may be positive when the patient is off the treatment. Even the patient has taken the treatment and come the negative. Negative only PCR based. The rapid test
Okay.
will not come negative anytime. Maybe after 2 months or 3 months also, the test would be
Okay.
positive. Rapid test would be positive, but the PCR would be negative.
Okay. So I mean, to go further along, basically, do we have to start with rapid test, and then if we have some symptoms positive, then we can go to the PCR or other further tests? Is it the protocol, or I mean,
Yeah, rapid test is only test for those people who are in community. You have a COVID positive patients and you have a symptoms. If you have a
okay,
symptoms and the in the vicinity of the COVID positive patient, then you can run on mass gathering. You can run this rapid test so that quickly they will tell you whether the patient is positive or negative. So the negative value is not important. Negative value of the rapid test is not important, but the positive value is important. So that will tell
yeah,
you at least the patient has antibodies inside. If the patient has not taken the treatment yet, it means he's suffering from the COVID-19.
okay. And sir, when you talk about the WHO that they wanted to conduct at least 10-15,000 tests per 100,000 people, and you said that in
Yeah.
India it's going around 100 for 100,000 people. So those tests are rapid tests or those are PCR tests?
Any test, they have not specified the test, but they said that this during this pandemic, this much of the test has to be done for 100,000 population. So this is a
Okay,
basic criteria for testing by the WHO.
Oh,
okay. And
this is,
yes, Kim, go ahead.
I'm just curious. WHO has mandated this.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, wow.
Because
I
we have.
so this is curious. I'm glad that we started to talk about the rapid test because we need to start doing something so that people can eventually go back to work. Nick called it COVID-19 certified. So how often do you think, Dr. Saggu, I'm glad you're here. How often do you think we're going to have to do this, or did I miss that conversation?
Sorry, but please repeat your question.
Did I miss? I don't know if I missed the conversation. Ankit, can you hear me? Have we talked
Yeah,
about
so basically, Kim wants to know that how often we need to do the testing. That's what I've asked you earlier as well. That I mean, Dr. Saggu said that. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So actually, if the criteria for the discharge from the hospital is at least you should be negative twice. Your two tests has to be negative. Then only you will be discharged from the hospital. And once you will be discharged from the hospital, then you have some guidelines to follow. You should be isolated at least. You should make a social distancing. and you should follow to boost up your immunity. Your immunity has to be on the higher side. If your immunity will go down, you can again can be victim of this COVID-19. So boost up your immunity, and if you have a symptom, then go for the test again. Then go for the test. You cannot sit and wait.
That's some good points there, is how often in the future we're going to have to be tested. I don't foresee this virus leaving us anytime soon. And I foresee us having to start some new practices. Are the test kits, are they coming available for free in India to the people, or is a medical care system paying for this? That's some questions that we're talking about here in the U.S. is we're not quite sure how any of this is going to get deployed.
So, Kim, right now, the government hospital has been authorized centers for the COVID-19, and all the tests they are being done at authorized COVID centers only, and all those centers they are the government run hospital only. But near future they are going to start. They have already been authorized some private labs also, and private lab they are charging the patients. They charge around 4,500 Indian rupees. But now the my lab has started manufacturing the kit. So if we use that kit, I think the per person the cost would be around 12 rupees. That is 15 cents.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's affordable. Yeah. I mean, I'll pay for that. I'll buy a kit a week if I had.
Dr. Saggu, would you like to mention about what happened in Rajasthan and in Delhi, that a lot of private hospitals are maybe volunteering or maybe adding their COVID patients on their own premises, and they're sharing the beds with the government? Because there was a news. Yes.
Yeah, even the private hospital, they are offering their hospital beds, and so that we can save the government COVID centers for the patients who are sick, really sick. For the mild patients, I think they are offering some isolation centers, and that is good also. Even the Indian Army has made some isolation beds, and even the railway has also they converted their bogies into the isolation beds. So yeah. I think 50,000 beds they have already prepared for the isolation, and this is the time. We bought a time, and during this time we can make all the preparations. At least we should plan according to if we can get around 10,000 patients per day. So on that scenario, I think they are working. Delhi government is also working. They are thinking that if we'll get 500 patients per day in Delhi, so then how we should be using our resources. So they are planning the resources like that only. And even the federal government has also instructed all the district level centers that they should at least plan crisis management at district level. So there is a cooperation between the federal and the province government right now, and I think they are preparing very well.
And Dr. Saggu, are you following the case of Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, because he is, I think, shifted to ICU now? And
yeah, he got positive, and then he was in isolation after 4 days. He got some symptoms, and for that symptoms he was admitted in the hospital. And yesterday I think he got sick. Then he was shifted to the intensive care unit, and I don't think he is on ventilator support right now. He is in intensive care unit, but not on the ventilator. So yes, that is a big scary for us, that the Prime Minister of Britain, like Personality, is sick because of the COVID-19. So that is why I always say, I mean, the money is not going to save you. Yeah. Your position is not going to save you. Your authorities are not going to save you. Your security is not going to save you. You will be saved only by isolation, because he's a Prime Minister. He has to meet all the people. So he is, have a deficiency of the isolation only. All things he have, but all the things will not work. The work only the isolation. Stay at home. Use your phone.
Stay at home. Use your phone. Dr.
I think we can't. I think the currency can't save us, and we have to stay united. And this is especially for Delhi.
and the currency not only will save us, currency can give you the COVID-19 as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this can be fomite. This can be fomite. Yeah.
Filthiest,
Yeah.
This
prettiest
can be
piece of item on your body. I'm going to tell you right now. Throw it away. Send it to Nick. Let Nick wash it. Dr.
Kim, how about this? How about this thing?
There you go. I love it.
No, I don't think we should do that also.
we
But
need
yes,
it.
this
We
is.
need it for later.
But,
But no,
but this is not going to save you. Yeah.
you make a
This
good
for sure.
point. That
Dr.
this
Saggu,
is
do you have any news about Prince Charles as well? Because he was also COVID
sick with
positive.
it.
He's negative now. I think Prince Charles is negative now.
I think
What's his
he's
negative?
better now. I think the word that we got from the Queen.
He came negative. He came negative.
Okay.
But
Yes.
but it's
I
like
think
you
we have
say,
a
it's
question
not
for us.
prejudice. It's not prejudice. It's going to get you whether you're the king of the world. It can get you, and people need to take ownership and just stay. It doesn't matter who you are. You can get sick, and we're
I think our president should start wearing masks now.
and you say this, but several. That happens. My apologies.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I hope you can hear me. We had a reboot. But I noticed the CDC and the WHO, they were still having these board meetings together. And even I noticed people on TV, right? And I know I've worked in the studios. They're big. But they're sitting close together on TV. And somebody had asked me about that. And people still are not taking the ownership. Just because you're a big celebrity doesn't mean you can't get it. Even the Queen, when she had a camera crew come in, they had to be wearing stuff. Everything had to be distanced from her. They had the huge crew outside of her room. Nobody ever came into the room with her. I'm sure they sanitized that whole castle when people left. But you're not immune. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You're gonna, and I see people think, oh, I can just get together with no, wait it out. Write letters.
Divided, we can save ourselves.
Right. Stay at home.
Yes,
Stay at home.
It's challenging for me.
So, Ankit,
it's audible.
I'll take a leave now.
Is it audible?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saggu. I appreciate your input every day.
Take care.